We are Rogue Media Sports.
Braden, you know what gave me much more happiness than I thought it would?
Tell me, Cam.
The Knicks losing that Game 7 at home and just melting was awesome to see. It really was. Now, of course, the Pacers were like setting shooting records. They shot 76% in the first half. And we're only up 15. I say only because they like literally had the best shooting percentage of any playoff team has ever had has had in a half in 25 years. And they end up shooting 67% from the game and won by like 20 points. But the final moments of seeing these freaking losers, man, like sports losers, and by that I mean Ben Stiller, John McEnroe,
Tracy Morgan,
Fat Joe, Tracy Morgan, and of course Spike Lee. Just watching them like pretend like they care, like they finally actually, after years of just being like, oh, I'm a Knicks fan, to being like, I actually kind of care again, and it's just gone just like that. And this is good for the NBA fan. It really is. I know everyone will say it's better when the Knicks are good, and it probably is for the league, but for the fan, this was fun. This was really fun to see. And by the way, because I'm a huge Celtics fan, I would have rather had this Knicks matchup than the Pacers. The Pacers can do shit like that. They've been doing it all year. They can just get ridiculously hot. Like they're the only team that could match the Celtics offensively, and they've played really well. I think they've won I think they might have won 3 against the Celtics this year. Like they can really put pressure on the Celtics by having such a good offense. But it was too good to pass up watching this theater play out. This special Knicks team. Oh, it feels like the 70s. Finally, the Knicks are back. They're not even in the conference finals. Give me a break. They're back. You know? Like, I know the Celtics haven't won the title yet in this iteration, but at least they've been to the finals. They make the Eastern Conference Finals every year. And this great Knicks team, this special Knicks run, this magical run over in the second round at home, getting their ass beat at home by the Pacers, which congrats to the Pacers. I like the way this team plays. They've got great fans, of course, being in Indiana. But on the grand scheme of professional sports, there are few teams and brands that are known less than the Indiana Pacers. The fact that they got into Madison Square Garden and just torched them in a Game 7 is hilarious, Braden. Did you not take any, like, were you laughing at this?
I was more laughing at the national sports media coverage.
That was great. But did you watch the last couple minutes of the game?
I did not, because it's not
It was
a
over
team
by
that
then.
I care about.
It was over by then. But like the last 5 minutes of the game, and it's Mike Breen, who is like the consummate pro, great play-by-play guy, but is also the Knicks play-by-play guy. It was him, Doris Burke, and JJ Redick. And like the last 5 minutes of the game, they're just eulogizing the Knicks and how great a run this was and how they got the city to believe. Doris Burke's talking about how finally a Knicks game is an event in the city again and how great the Knicks were. I'm like, are they about to win the title? What am I missing? They're down 17 points on their home floor. The Pacers just made another 3. And like it would be like they would retch if they would have to mention the name Indiana Pacers. Right. I'm like, can we give some goddamn credit to these guys?
Did you see like the ESPN, like the graphic for the Pacers?
So bad. They wanted this so bad. Like, there are people out there in the media that wanted COVID to keep living so badly. That's what it felt like. The ESPNs of the world and the national media, they wanted the Knicks to win this so bad. They would never admit it, but they wanted that. Oops, sorry. What was the graphic?
Just like their crappy graphic that they gave the Pacers for advancing. It looked like it was made in Microsoft Word or whatever.
They did not want it. They did not want it. And that's what makes me so happy. Because, look, a Boston-New York Eastern Conference Finals would have been great. Would have been great television, beautiful fodder. But I also, being a sicko, love that this Pacers team, it's young. They've made really good, savvy moves. They've got a distinct style, and it's working. They were underdogs in round 1. They were underdogs in round 2. Down a couple. They're down 2-0 and 3-2 against the Knicks, and beat them in a Game 7 on the road. Like that's a hell of a story so far. And by the way, they can push the Celtics. This could be a 7-game series, especially with Porzingis out for at least the first 2. It's sounding like they could really give the Celtics a hard time. It would be an upset if they win the series, right. Absolutely, but they could push them to 7 games. In fact, if you had me right now, maybe it's just off the high of this Pacers Game 7 win. I would have the Celtics in 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think you're going to smoke them.
I hope you're right, but I've seen the Pacers felt like a bogey team this year. They lost in the in-season tournament, which this is just validating the in-season tournament, right? The Pacers went to the final of that, and now they're in the Eastern Conference final. So it's gonna be a great series. I really think so. But watching the Knicks fall apart, even with the fact that the Pacers had to shoot 70% for an entire Game 7, and all the injuries that they had, because they did have some injuries, the Knicks. No one's going to remember that. They're just going to remember them getting pummeled on their own floor in Game 7, which is awesome. And, like, nobody cared. Like, none of the discourse on social media or on YouTube or on a lot of the TV shows, like, nobody cares about the Knicks injuries. They're just like, this is hilarious. They really thought they had it. And this is, like, perfect. We talked about this last week. Like, the Knicks are not what the fans think they are. And I'll explain this. So the Knicks have great fans. They really do.
Correct.
And New York's, of course, a great basketball town. But what is such a great example of why the Knicks are not what they think they are is you can find a Dallas Cowboys fan anywhere. A Lakers fan anywhere. Yankees anywhere. Even like a Patriots or a Celtics. Anywhere you'll find those. You will not find a Knicks fan anywhere. Like everywhere. You know what I mean? Like you can find Cowboys fans that grew up in Washington State, have never been to Texas, and are diehard Cowboys fans. You will not find one of those with the Knicks. It's as great, as big a town as it is, a worldly a city, as great a sports town as it is, you will not find Knicks fans everywhere. You know why, Braden?
Why, Cam?
Because for so long, they have been completely irrelevant on the grand stage of the NBA. The 70s, the early 70s, they were damn good, man. Damn good. Couple of titles. Dave DeBusschere and Walt Clyde Frazier and Willis Reed and all these guys. Then they had some good teams in the 90s. They made a finals when Jordan wasn't there. And then made kind of a miracle run in 99, the year after Jordan left again. They were an 8 seed and went to the finals. That was kind of a fluky, out-of-nowhere thing. But they have never had, like, a decade. You know what I mean?
I do.
Which all the great NBA franchises have had. The Celtics have had a couple. The Lakers have had a couple. Mm-hmm. The Bulls had one. The Spurs had 2, basically. Decade and a half. The Warriors. The Knicks have not had that ever. Even in the decade that they won their 2 championships, the Celtics won 2 championships in that decade. No one even remembers that. The Blazers won a championship in that decade. The Baltimore Bullets, the Seattle Supersonics won a championship in that decade. So it's that is what's so funny to me is they think, and I'm sure people who are new to basketball, were just tuning into ESPN the last couple of months, think this is the franchise in the league. Look at the way they're talking about him. Because the way it's been talked about would be like if the Cowboys were really good again and like in a conference championship. You know what I mean? That's what it would feel like. Or when the Yankees went back to the ALCS a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, and they got swept.
Correct. But you remember how big that was for MLB media.
Oh,
finally,
yeah.
The Yankees are back. That's what you would think the Knicks are, but they're not. They're not that. And that's just so funny to me. And I thought it was – I really wanted a conference finals where, like, Al Horford was blocking a shot so hard that it gave Ben Stiller a concussion courtside, or Fat Joe having nightmares about Derek White and Peyton Pritchard. Like, that would have given me a lot of happiness.
Well, I think Derek White gives me nightmares just by looking at him. He's a little scary to look at.
Because he's one of the best players in the league?
No, he's just
He's the most underrated player in the league?
I don't know. This is.
What, because he's bald?
He looks like Kendall Weaver a little bit. Kendall Weaver is scary to look at.
Because he's bald, Braden? You have a similar skin complexion to Derek White.
Oh, I guess.
And
but a
you've
very
been
important
bald
difference
before,
between us
and
is.
I didn't get scared looking at you.
Thank you, Cam.
You're welcome. You're welcome. That's the truth, brother.
It was a little scary.
I don't take any Derek White slander on this show. I am such a Derek White. Did I tell you about what my girlfriend said about Derek White a couple weeks ago?
Probably. I don't
So
remember.
this is great. So I am such a huge Derek White truther. Thought he should have been an all-star this year. I love the guy. He just always makes the right play. Our boss Mike likes him too because he used to be a Spur. But he obviously does not get the credit he deserves around the league. I think he's the most underrated player in the entire league. Not that he should be an all-NBA guy, but he should have been an all-star this year. Anyway, completely underrated. We're watching the Celtics game a couple weeks ago, and my girlfriend, she'll watch them with me, but really isn't very tuned in. She likes the Bruins more than she likes the Celtics. Just doesn't know a lot about it. She goes, I know about White, but who's the other star player for the Celtics? And I was like, yes, yes, yes. It was the best thing I've ever heard. Not Tatum, not Brown. No, I know Derek White's the guy, but who's the other one? That was one of the most fulfilling things I've ever heard, satisfying things I've ever heard. Do you remember that game in the first round? He dropped 35 in Miami, and Messi was at the game.
Oh, yeah.
And people were like, Messi must think this guy
Derek
just
White's
runs the league. He
greatest player.
is the NBA. And I'm like, hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. So that was one of the best things she's ever said. I know about White, of course, but who's the other guy? I'd be like, oh yeah, this guy Jason Tatum. He's been all NBA the last 2 years. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer someday. Yeah, he's on the team too. You've also got the highest paid player in the league on the team. You've got a guy they call a unicorn on the team.
Yeah.
But yes, Derek White is the best for sure. Anyway, Derek White is going to crucify the Pacers. He was going to do it to the Knicks, but now he's going to do it to the Pacers. The other shock, the Game 7. How about this? 2 Game 7s on Sunday. Road team wins both.
Yeah.
Yours, mine, our Minnesota Timberwolves knocking off the defending champs. We had it. We had it after 2-0.
We did.
You and I were both saying it. And our producer, Zach, comes in, and he's like, y'all are crazy. Y'all are crazy. I don't care if it's 2-0. I don't care if it's 3-0. I don't care if it's 3.5-0. The Timberwolves are still the Timberwolves. They're going to blow this. They've never been anything ever. And I'm like, well, I don't know, Zach. Got this kid, Anthony Edwards. Not bad.
Have you heard of him, Zach?
He got 2 number 1 picks on the team. Got a 4th-time Defensive Player of the Year. And for a while then after, Zach had us.
Correct.
Zach had
It
us.
was not looking good for us.
It goes to 3-2. The Timberwolves get that huge blowout win in Game 6. And I never gave up hope. I definitely didn't think the defending champs with the best player in the world were going to win a Game 7 at home. I definitely thought they would score more than 90 points. But Minnesota clamped them down in a fashion almost as dominant as the Pacers. Okay? Because I know the Pacers had the bigger point differential. They were up 20 at a couple points in the game.
Well, and the Wolves were down by 20 at one
But that's
point.
the thing. They were down 20 early, and then they just shut Denver down. The Knicks game, the Pacers just stayed hot, and the Knicks went cold for a couple stretches, but the Pacers were shooting so hot they couldn't even, get back into it, really. the Wolves just turned that game around, man. And they clamped it down 98-90. I never thought we'd have another Game 7 score like that in 2024. And they just took them out of the game. Murray was out of that game. And Anthony Edwards is talking shit and saying, come at me, N-word, to a 65-year-old white guy in Denver. It was awesome. It was awesome. He's going to piss me off at some point, especially if they play the Celtics in the finals. But right now, I'm into this. I'm into this Anthony Edwards storyline.
Waving bye to the fans at the end.
It was great, man. It was great. And, yeah, I'm going to hate it when he's playing against the Celtics. But I think he was getting a lot of the Jordan comparisons early on in the series. And, like, I tried to have this discussion with my other radio co-host, Matt Mosley, and he just, I don't know, old people just won't hear me out on this. Like, he'll be like, no, he's not Jordan. Jordan's won 6 titles. And I'm like, well, they're not saying he is Jordan. What they were saying, and I kind of agree with, you watch him play, it looks like Michael Jordan. Like, his size and his style looks the way Michael Jordan played. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, he can back guys down, fadeaway jumpers, best leaper in the gym. Good shooter too. Not a great shooter, but a pretty good shooter. And he'll talk shit to everybody around him. Like that part, that's Jordan-esque. I'm not saying he's Michael Jordan, but like all of those things are paralleled. Am I wrong in that? Have you been seeing that?
I've definitely been seeing that. Even in other sports media, like they're agreeing with you.
Yeah, but then there are the old people that are
I haven't seen anyone being.
It's like kind of what people say about Mahomes. People will say with Patrick Mahomes, like he's already better than Brady. And I'm like, well, no, he's not. Like, no, he's not. He's got half the titles. He's a great player. I think he's probably gonna be the second best quarterback of all time at the worst. But like, he's not better than Brady right now. What they're saying about Edwards is like, oh my God, look at this side by side. Like his game is very similar to Jordan's, and he is playing very well. I mean, we also got to remember about Michael is like he didn't win a title until his 8th season in the league. Like, I mean, he was just a good player that didn't have the championship team throughout the 80s. We could be looking at something similar to that. Like, Anthony Edwards could go on to win 3 NBA championships.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll win 6, but, we could be seeing something like that. I don't know. I do have it as a Celtics-Timberwolves final.
The Kevin Garnett Bowl?
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah. Last
time they were this far or had won a playoff series was Garnett was on the team, won the MVP that year, 2004. I was impressed with what the Mavs did in that OKC series. We talked about this last week. I said if that goes to a 7th game, Mavs are going to win it. Didn't do that. Won it in 6. Which I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, okay, this team is playing to its potential, which it did not do last year. Notably so. I just think Minnesota's too good defensively. This could be a low-scoring series, especially with Luka still banged up. I mean, it could see that. 2 pretty decent defensive teams, 1 very good defensive team, but I see the Wolves making it look kind of easy but winning it in 6. Do you have any thoughts on that at all, Braden? I'm looking into blank.
I was listening to you, Cam. You're a great talker.
You can interject. It's a show.
I think probably I'll go 5. Wolves in 5.
Wolves in 5. And what did you say about the Celtics series?
I think they're going to smoke the Pacers.
You think you're going to sweep them?
Maybe not sweep them. Maybe a gentleman's sweep.
That'd be great. By the way, I encourage you all to check out the Larry Bird video too. I should have mentioned this in the Larry Bird video. We're comparing him with Jokic at their age 29 seasons. Bird won his 3rd title that year. They lost 3 playoff games that whole year. They swept Jordan's Bulls in round 1, which was a best of 5 back then. So 3-0. Then went up 3-0 against the Hawks, Dominique Wilkins Hawks. Lost game 4, won game 5. So that's a loss right there. swept the Bucks in the conference finals, and then beat the Rockets in 6. Like, that's still, for my money, the best NBA team of all time. I know people will say the 96 Bulls, but I think they're 1-1A. And then you can put the Warriors in there. One of those Warriors teams. But Jokic has never done that. I'll just say that. Anyway, so you've got Wolves in 5, Celtics in 4.
No, I said gentleman sweep Celtics.
Fine. I was trying to get you into that. I would love that final. I know it wouldn't be. I know I should be rooting for Celtics Dallas to potentially go to a game, but I think that would be a couple grand anyway. So I'm not holding my breath, and I'd rather not even be tempted with it. I would sell some plasma. Would you take some?
I don't need any plasma anymore.
Can you give blood?
I cannot. They don't
'Cause
want
of
my blood.
The leukemia thing?
It is.
That's too bad. I'm sure you want to help people out.
Give back to the community, but they don't. My blood is tainted.
Anyway, shout out to the Knicks losing. That was awesome.
That did bring me great joy.
That was too much fun.
We are Rogue Media Sports.